My primary hope was that I would have been able to grasp magic a little bit better, understand some of the more evolved details of it. After all, I do still have 3 construct abilities that have yet to find a purpose or function. I'm not going to be able to rely on the man in the pinstripe suit to set the power up for me. Part of getting them as construct abilities was that I'll be able to set them myself, but that does mean I have to set them myself. And quite frankly, I don't think that my knowledge of magic is up to the task at this point. Who knows, if I actually tried to set one of the construct abilities, I might just end up ruining it. I don't even know if construct abilities can be changed after their initial setting. I was hoping by now that I'd be able to do it. Then I would at least have some idea of what I wanted those abilities to be. But as of yet, I don't even really feel comfortable trying to practice magic, especially seeing as I have very little free time or free space. My room isn't exactly the place where I want to start trying to throw balls of fire or teleport, or who knows what else magic is really possible. Testing things like that would probably better be suited to somewhere much more private, where I'm less likely to burn my house down. One of the primary reasons that I wanted the abilities ready by this point was my father is due home today. I have made great strides in archery, but most of my other studies are at a standstill. I'm developing, but nothing enough to impress him, I believe. After all, he isn't an easily impressed man. After all, magic could be extremely valuable and has many practical uses that I can think of, just from what I know thus far, once I can actually master it. But I can't start forgetting about my real world problems. The conversation with my mother still bothers me. She spoke of the possibility of my father having mistresses, and more so to the point that one of those mistresses might have bore my father a child, meaning that I would have a half-brother or sister, maybe more than one, who knows. If I fail to gain my father's approval, it is possible that another sibling, a half-sibling, could attempt to take my place, replace me as the rightful heir to the Worthington estate and all of my father's businesses. My mother is many things, but I've never known her to be a dull woman. She's not stupid by any stretch of the imagination. I may not have considered the depth of the amount of strategy that she puts into her day-to-day life, but that doesn't mean that I ever believed she was stupid. If she suspects the possibility of a mistress, in fact, just the fact that she mentioned the possibility of a mistress, and felt concerned enough to talk to me about it, is all the evidence that I need that it's most likely true. I don't think it's a matter of possibility, rather, it's a hard fact, meaning that I have competition. And most likely, not only do I have competition, but by default of birth, and the fact that my mother isn't nobility or high established society by birth, they have the social advantage. People will naturally favor them unless I give them reason otherwise. Basically, unless I'm so superior that they don't even hold a candle to me, there's every possibility that my father could waver in their direction, and suddenly they're the inheritors of the estate. And then you have our ongoing feud with the Sanderson family. I'm obviously smart enough to outplay their son in a game of business or strategy, but my father is a very physical man. A champion archer, wrestler in college. To this day, he has a very stout frame. He is not a small man by any measure. The thin, wiry son that he has probably doesn't impress him much, knowing that the family that he's having problems with has a son who's physically superior to me isn't doing me any favors. And I can't exactly expect Alice to come to my rescue every time I have to deal deal with him. My massive strides in archery might impress my father somewhat, which is a feather in my cap in that direction. But the pure physical difference between me and Beckett Sanderson is still very wide. I need some way to bridge the gap. It's not as if I can make myself bigger. I have been increasing the amount of physical activities I've been doing, exercising more often, but the results of doing so are far too slow a yield to expect it to impress my father when he arrives today. And telling them about magic to try to impress them just feels like it might go sour. There are simply too many negative possibilities. It's better to keep my mouth shut about magic and simply use it to my advantage once I actually get a hang of it. And then there's the problem of Alice. She knows I was going to meet the man with the pinstripe suit. I mean, she wanted me to get a good deal, so she told me about magic and some of the basic things, and from what I read, she was right on the money. She wasn't lying to me about anything. So she obviously wanted what was best for me in the deal, but that still leaves many questions open. For example, her family, she said they had an obsession with magic. There's no telling whether or not I could actually trust them. What if Alice starts telling them about me and the man in the pinstripe suit and our interactions? Victoria said very bad things could happen if anyone found out about my little victory over the man in the pinstripe suit. Does that include Alice's family? Would the Wallendors come after me? Maybe Alice would keep the secret if I told her. I mean, she already knows about magic. She's basically the only person I can talk to about this stuff. How am I supposed to keep it secret from her while talking to her about it? It seemed that more and more troubles were simply stacking onto my plate. For every feather in my hat it gained, it seemed like I also got 3 extra problems to go with it. Normally, an intelligent businessman would start to outsource some of these problems, hire employees to cover things that they couldn't. But when dealing with magic, it's not that simple. I can't simply outsource the study of magic to someone else, or hire someone to become physically fit for me. There are lots of problems where I simply can't business my way out of it yet. I don't have the resources or the social sway. Being the equivalent of a small business, I simply don't have it. If I'm going to challenge the pinstripe man in any real fashion, I'm going to need to expand my business. Things have to grow. Stagnation equals failure. This is a key tenet in any business. The real question is, how? There are obviously people with resources and talents that I can take advantage of in order to better my situation. For example, the massive amount of similarities between magic and engineering. It's right up the alley of something that Eliza would be great at. If I were able to bring her into the fold somehow, she could help me with the engineering side of magic. Honestly, based on what I've studied from magic thus far, if anyone would make a great magician, it would be Eliza. All the tenets are so familiar. The only question remains, how would I bring her in? Everyone that I tell about magic has to be willing to keep the secret. It's times like right now that I wish I had the influence and power of the pinstripe man. I bet he could whip up some sort of magic, like a magical contract that ensured that nobody could actually speak about something. We have those kind of agreements in reality, but without the magic behind it, a gag order from a 10-year-old probably wouldn't hold much sway. It seems like everything is escalating so quickly. I just can't keep up with it. There has to be some way to either speed myself up and my development, or slow everything else down somehow.